Hi guys, it's Isa. Today we're gonna do my June wrap up as well as my July TBR, which will consist on a you choose my reads kind of deal. Starting with what I read in June, I joined the Whatever-thon, which was this super awesome, good vibes, read whatever you like and kind of push together to a unique goal. And I set myself with the goal of reading 10 books.
And well, that failed spectacularly.
Not really in a reading slump, but a little bit in a reading slump. And so starting with the book that took me ages, that I'm still with it, and I'm kind of like DNFing, Age of Myth. I honestly started reading this like at the beginning of the month. It's not long, it's not even big, but for some reason I tend to just zone out when I'm reading it. I'm not sure if it is me, that I'm not in the right mood, or that it's just not for me, period. However, as this is one of the favorite series from Jessie May and I really tend to overlap with her, I'm kind of like hesitant to DNF it, but well, I'm just kind of like pausing it. I was kind of like not really vibing with the characters. I think the world building was fine. It talks about this medieval world where there are different races, and one of these races are like almost gods and are really revered, and they cannot kind of like touch with the humans, and then one day one human kills one god and triggers a lot of different stuff there, and we will be following different parts within this story, both in the human side and also in this god side. So it's really interesting, but kind of like not for me. Continuing with a 3.5 read, we have Never Die. Never Die had everything that I really wanted because it's Asian inspired, which is my favorite setting too. It has this quest, which I also love. It has a Shinigami vibe involved, so also really fascinating. I thought this was gonna be fantastic, and it actually started pretty good with some really interesting kind of like poesy, let's say, but somehow it become really repetitive for me. It was kind of like the same story again and again and again. And in a nutshell, this book follows the story of this little boy who has this quest of, just killing the emperor. But in order to do so, he will need a set of soldiers. And these soldiers are going to be bounded to him because he will arise them from the dead. I reckon though that this book totally had that ending that makes the whole book kind of like worth it. It was a really fast read. The different chapters are like 3 pages long, so it's like the perfect book to binge. But then we have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. My first Colleen Hoover book. I was like forever trying to read her. I've been also avoiding her for a while, but she is pretty famous. She is everywhere. And I was pleasantly surprised, but at the same time a little bit disappointed. This has been so incredibly hyped. This is the problem with expectations. I kind of like knew the story a little bit. I won't unveil much because I really think that this story benefits from not knowing a lot, but you kind of like need to know the main triggers, which are physical or emotional abuse. The story in part took me by surprise, but at the same time I knew what was coming. I thought it was so incredibly well done how you get into the story, you stop seeing stuff that at the beginning of the book seems so obvious. And Colleen Hoover kind of like manipulated me in a way. So that was really well done. Then we have House of Dragons, which is a young adult fantasy story. It's pretty short and it was very fast paced. Narrates what happens after the emperor dies. Every time that happens, the dragon calls the heirs of the different houses that are also ruling. The thing is that this time these heirs are not the typical ones, are not the strongest, but instead are kind of like the misfits, the weakest, and something else happens. At its core, it's a tournament, and I reckon there was this part in which I was like, oh my god, what is happening? But now that I've ended this book, I'm not sure I will be continuing it, because afterwards I read that this author had some very conflicting messages on the internet that I don't really support. And the best read of this month was Red Rising. I really believe this is gonna turn into a new favorite for me. It's this dystopian sci-fi story. It was kind of like the highlight for some of my days, and it's the book that kept me like motivated. Really recommend Red Rising if you haven't get to it already. It has this perfect blend, I believe, between a character and a plot-driven story. Every time that a part closes in, the stakes are higher, right? Like the danger is higher, and you feel that. At the beginning, I thought this was gonna be a story, and then it unfolds in a very different way, which was such a pleasant surprise. That's why I'm just gonna keep things vague. This is a story about a society that separate people based on colors. So we have the lowest ranks, which are the reds. They are kind of like the slaves. Then we have the grays, which are the soldiers. At the top, we have the golden ones, which are like the elite. They are physically different and they are more powerful. This story will pick up with Darrow, who is one of these reds. It's emotional, it has drama, fantastic. And now for the TBR, there are two options that you can go for. First, you can tell me if there's any book that for any reason you would like me to read, and if that book it's repeated enough times down below in the comment, or it has different likes, I will also pick it up. Or the second option, which is I have this physical TBR list here, books that I've been buying and not necessarily reading. If you would like me to read any of these, let me know. I will go through them fairly quickly. First, beautiful book cover, Magic Steeped in Poison. It's a young adult Asian inspired story. It talks about this girl that will find herself in this competition to become the greatest tea maker, because if she gets this title she will be able to save her sister's life. But it seems that magic revolves around tea. Sounds really cozy, really short. Continuing with young adult sci-fi, we have Scythe. This is a story that I've been really wanted to pick. This is such a fantastic edition, I believe. People don't die anymore, and so the only way for them to die is for these Scythe people, this kind of reapers, to kill people. The thing is that you cannot want to kill people in order to become this person, this kind of reaper. So we will follow different characters that are starting the path to become these reapers, and you know, the story unfolds from there. Then we have An Enchantment of Ravens. It's a standalone, it's very short. It talks about the Fae, and it seems that our girl has a magical ability with her drawings, and one day she gets into a mess that she will try to unravel. Then we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I've been against sitting for a while. I'm not sure if this is my cup of tea, but dang, this was signed by Schwab. I just cannot be more happy about it. Look at that. A story about a girl that makes a pact with a demon in order to escape, but from that point onwards, no one remembers her. So it's her path through time where people forget her. We have Spiderlight, which is supposed to be this very fan-cozy short story by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's supposed to be a Dungeons and Dragons kind of vibe, almost happy, funny, slightly resembled to Kings of the Wild, also very interesting. And then for sure, I will be reading two new releases for this month. The first one is a sequel, These Twisted Bonds, which is part 2 of These Hallow Vows, a young adult portal fantasy that talks about the Fae, the girl, love triangles, the angst. And then I will also be reading Violet Made of Thorns, fantasy romance that talks about this witch and this prince, a prophecy, and what happens. Let me know down below what are the books that you really believe I should be reading. Add a bird in the comments, or just write the name if you want me to read Enchantment of Ravens. A skull for Scythe? Let's add a cup of tea for Magic Steeped in Poison. A ghost for Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And yeah, that was it for today. I really hope you liked this video. I publish bookish content every Tuesday and Friday for you to enjoy. If you want to stay tuned, click the subscription button and the notification bell. And I really hope to see you soon in all the videos.